Hello everyone and welcome to the Q&A answers video. Thank you for all the questions. I'm going to answer them all. It's pretty amazing how many questions I did have actually. I didn't think there'll be that many. But yeah, there's been loads and some of them there's multiple questions that some people have asked and the answers are going to be a little bit long. But I'm going to try and keep this as kind of short but informative as possible. There's one particular question that's been asked quite frequently, so I'm going to answer that one more towards the end, so I'll sort of answer everybody in one go. So let's get on with the questions then, in no particular order. This first one is from UK Demon Motovlogs. Why did you decide to start riding and why did you choose the bike that you have? Well, before I learned to drive back in 2002, I got my provisional driving licence and bought a 50cc scooter. At the time, my friend worked in the local dealership and he got me a pretty good deal on a Suzuki AY50 Katana in the Telefonica Movie Star livery. I did my CBT on that and was riding for the best part of 2 years on that before I started driving. Passed my driving test and bought an Austin Metro. Sold the scooter, and it wasn't until 2007 I started working for a company based up near Loughborough. Whose main customer base was motorcycle dealerships. They did a software package and I worked for the team that provided the hardware support and things like that. So basically I went around the country installing computers and stuff and fixing them. So yeah, the main customer base was motorcycle dealerships, so I got to go around to various motorbike shops while I was working there. And seeing all these bikes in the showroom and that sort of made me want to get back on two wheels again. So in 2008 I took my full direct access course and passed that. And a few months after passing my test I went and bought my first bike, which was a Suzuki GS500, which is pretty much the same thing I learnt to ride on. About a year later I swapped the GS500 for a GPZ 500, which I got on so much better with. I preferred it, it was much more comfortable and just in general a better bike. After I got settled in, when I moved down here, I got a Kawasaki ER5. 3 months later, I got knocked off that. The bike was a write-off. Once the insurance had paid out for that, I then went looking for bikes. Almost bought a XJ6 Diversion, because I was sort of looking around the 600cc area at this point. But then I saw this GPZ advertised. It looked pretty good, so I went to go and see it. It was in brilliant condition, and I just had to have it. So I went and bought the GPZ that I own now. The main reason for buying it is because I'd already had one before. I was familiar with the bike. I knew that they've got a good reputation. They have good engines in them. They're pretty reliable bikes, really. So that was the main reasons why I've got this current GPZ. Next question comes from CH2O. Do you track your MPG? If so, what is it usually? Talk more about your bike. Well, I'm hoping that previous question and some of the upcoming questions count about talking about my bike. I do, however, plan to do another walk around of the bike with a bit of a closer look at things that I've done and things that I want to do to the bike eventually. So that's going to be a future video. As for MPG, I don't really track it hardly ever. I just know that a full tank of fuel will get me about 200 to 220 miles before I hit the reserve and need to think about filling up again. But based on my fuel tank being, I'm pretty sure it's a 17 litre fuel tank. 17 litres is 3.74 gallons. 200 miles divided by 3.74 I worked out to equal about 53.5 miles per gallon is what it works out to. That's what I tend to be doing on GPZ. So yeah, 54 miles a gallon. Next one from Arizona Girl. As you know I'm learning, my question is, what did you find hardest about learning to ride a motorbike? The only thing I recall struggling with was on the turn in the road. I couldn't help target fixating on the opposite curb, so I kept running wide, but my instructor was very good and he managed to get me looking up the road where I wanted to go. And problem solved, really. Also, one thing I do remember as well was I wasn't very confident in the corners when we started on the 125s, like on the CBT. Because I think there was the CBT and then I think there was a day of riding on the 125s, if I remember correctly. Obviously things have changed since then. But yeah, I didn't feel very confident in the corners on the 125s, but as soon as we got on the bigger bikes the next day, on the 500cc's, I was a lot better. Next one is a multiple question one from Skeggy Cruiser. Knowing what you know now, if you could do anything different in your life, what would it be? When I wanted to start working in computers, I started doing a skills train computer course, which basically gives you a industry recognised qualification in the field that you choose, which mine would have been just computer hardware. And the next one I think was networking, something like that. Anyway, I would definitely not do that again if I could have turned back the clocks and stuff, because that was a complete waste of time, because the course was pretty focused on ancient computing stuff. Like, for those of you who know what I'm about to say, this was teaching you things about setting IRQ numbers for hardware, DMA channels, and all stuff that's pretty much obsolete these days. Everything's all plug and play now. It's very irrelevant, a lot of the stuff in that course. And I learned a lot more in the first 2 weeks of starting work for that company that I mentioned previously, that does the computer software for bike dealerships and things. I learned a lot more in the first 2 weeks for them than I did in the whole time I was doing this course. So yeah, that course was a complete waste of time and money. I do regret doing that, because yeah, it's totally unnecessary. B, do you have any lucky pants? Not such, but if I know I'm going to be in for a big day, or there's a special event like it's my birthday or something like that, there is a particular pair I'll tend to pick out. Maybe it's a favourite pair, not so much lucky, just favourite, I don't know. Question C, if you could have a tail, what kind would you have? Prehensile, etc. That's a good one. A prehensile one would be quite good for holding things if I'm working on the bike, or that sort of thing. So it would either be that, or a scorpion tail, sting people, or a stegosaurus tail. Yeah, something like that, I don't know. Question D, Brazilian, Hollywood, Merkin, or full-on 70s afro? Well, for hairstyle, I'll have to go with the 70s afro, but I think you mean something else, Skeggy, so in that case, landing strip. Next question is from Fisher Boy. When do you think the next meetup is, and would you live stream it again? And well done for doing the Q&A. Thanks, Fisher Boy. The only problem with live streaming is, for those who prefer to have their number plates and faces all pixelated out, you can't really do that live, obviously, so when I do another live one, it'll have to be for those who don't hide their identity, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. There's plenty of people out there that don't do the whole hidden face type of thing. I do want to do a meetup before winter really sets in, though, so I was thinking maybe of arranging a bit of a ride up to the Ace Cafe to meet Captain Cranky when he's over here, but I'm not sure. I think it's going to be on a Saturday now. I think it's the 25th of October when he's going to be here at the Ace Cafe. Now, I don't know how to get to the Ace Cafe, and I know it's in London, and I don't fancy riding in London, but if Captain Cranky's in town, it'll be rude not to. So it'll be nice to have just a small group, probably ride up here from the south coast and up to the Ace Cafe. If anyone knows the way, I'll be up for that, I think. Dracos, in your life, what do you consider to be A, your greatest achievement, and B, worst failure / regret? Greatest achievement, possibly getting on the property ladder before I turned 30, which in this economic climate, it's a pretty hard thing to do, getting on the property ladder these days by the looks of it. I don't know how people on their own manage. I really don't. But probably more, I'd say this channel is probably quite an achievement for me. It's far more successful than I ever imagined it being. So I'd say it's a good achievement for me. Probably one of my best achievements. And it's great to be a part of this brilliant community that we have in the motovlogging world. My worst failure and regret was, one, buying a Rover 25, because it was problematic from day one. The first day I got it back home. This is when I live up in the Midlands, obviously. I got it from a garage in Coventry. So I drove back from Coventry to Hinckley, got back, found water leaking out. The water pump was just completely leaking water out everywhere. So I had to go back to get that done. The clutch needed doing at one point. Luckily, all this was done under its sort of 3-month warranty that it came with. So most of the problems, at least, didn't have to pay for. But it had so many problems from day one. And then my second part of that is driving that Rover into a deep ford, because I didn't realise the water was quite that deep. Stalling the engine, it flooded, and water came in, and yeah, it was just a nightmare. It was a mess. I did do a video on that, actually. I'll try and put a link in the description for that, or put it in the little bit at the end of the video, so you can click back and listen to the story of that one. Because yeah, I did do a vlog about that. Yeah, so that's that. Thank you for that one, Dracos. Next question. The Lewis Vlogs. What do you think about the tax disc being scrapped? I think it's about time, really, because it is quite an old system now, and in this modern day of computers and everything being online and the automatic number plate recognition cameras everywhere, it's a good thing, really, especially for us bikers, because displaying the tax disc is a pain in the arse if you haven't got a convenient place to put it, and also they get nicked. It's a common problem, tax discs getting stolen off bikes. Obviously that's no more, so yeah, it is a good thing. I do feel sorry though for the post offices. That's going to have a bit of an effect on them, because a lot of their main business in local communities and stuff is people coming there to tax their vehicles, and also the places that make the tax disc holders. They're going to suffer a bit of a problem there, because no one's going to be buying them anymore. Next, Grim XD, do you have any plans to getting a different bike, and what is your dream bike? Right, that is the popular question. Several people have answered the dream bike thing, so I'm going to answer that at the end. As for getting a different bike, my uncle recently offered to sell me his ZZR 600, which I went to have a look at. It's a very nice bike, he's really looked after it. It's a bit older than my GPZ, but it would be better for longer trips and things, and it is really comfortable to sit on as well, because he's short like me. In fact, I think I'm slightly taller than him, but he's had the seat cut out and lowered, and the handlebars are raised, and it is a really comfortable riding position. And yeah, the bike's, like I said, in brilliant condition. The only reason I haven't gone for it is the difference in insurance. I renewed my insurance on the GPZ back in June. I've paid 130 quid thereabouts for 12 months. They being Hastings, they want an extra £180 to swap the GPZ over for a ZZR 600. So I can't afford to do that right now. But once I'm nearer to renewing my insurance, I will have a look at it all again, and that'll be the sort of time to change bikes if I do. And if my uncle's still got it, planning to get rid of it, if he's still got it available, I may well have it. In fact, I'll probably put some pictures on the screen while I've been talking there of it, so you can get a sneak preview of potentially my next bike, but it may not even happen. I won't know till next year. Next question, I hope I pronounced this right. Vitally Deuterium, I think that's right. Sorry if it's not. Phil, if you could have any bike, what would you have and why? And would you glue red horns to your helmet? Well, I'll answer the bike one later. Red horns to the helmet? Halloween is coming up, so I might have to get some for a seasonal sort of thing to do. I've seen the ones that have got like the sucker pads on them, and the horn almost looks like an inflatable thing, which I guess just flaps about a bit, and I don't know how long that would last, being just stuck on with a sucker pad. I imagine they'll fall off after not very long. But I'll probably have to try and find some rigid ones and fix them on with some like 3M adhesive stuff, a bit like you get on the drift mounts, because that'd be a bit more long. Well, they'll be a bit longer lasting anyway, and I should be able to take them off, and it shouldn't leave too much of a mess on the helmet. So yeah, I might do that. I'll keep an eye out, see if I can see anything I can put on the helmet as sort of red devil horns. Next one is from the Gentleman Biker. If you won the lottery, what would be the first thing you would do for someone? That's a good one, because normally it's like, what would you do if you win the lottery? This is what would you do for somebody else. But yeah, if I won the lottery, first thing I'd do is probably pay the mortgage off. But for something else, I think I'd have to give the family some each, so they can all go and treat themselves to something nice. But then I'd have to do a big donation to some worthy charities, such as the Air Ambulance, Help for Heroes, some of the biker charities, and there's a local children's hospice around here called Chestnut Tree House. They'd have to get a pretty decent donation. So yeah, charity mate. Next, Steel Fabric. What or who inspired you to take up riding, and what or who inspired you to motovlog? Nobody in particular inspired me to ride. It's just something I kind of discovered by myself. I don't know what it was. Obviously I bought that scooter, and then I wanted to get back on a bike a few years later. It's not like all my friends were riding. I didn't really know that many people who had interest in motorcycles, so yeah, it's basically just myself really. As for motovlogging, I found motovlogging after I was knocked off my ER5 a couple of years ago. I was researching helmet cameras and came across some of Baron von Grumbel's videos and Roadcraft Nottingham as well. That's how I kind of found what motovlogging was. And so I think those guys were my main inspiration, and also through them I watched people like Premises 187 with his random encounters videos, and a couple of others like that, and Spicy 110, I think I found that off one of Baron Von Grumble's videos. So yeah, they were my main sort of inspirations for giving this a go. I mean, it wasn't until after I got a camera, and I did upload a couple of like Pillock of the Day videos, the very early ones. It wasn't until after that I got a microphone and decided to give it a go, and yeah, it all seemed to work out, because by that time I'd sort of picked up a few subscribers anyway, and so yeah, I thought I'd give it a go and see what these guys think, and I got mostly positive feedback, so I stuck with it, and here we are today. Next one, Triumph Ant. Who would win in a race between a tortoise on roller skates and a snail on a skateboard? That's a tough one, because as a, well, ex-skateboarder myself, I don't really do it anymore, I want to say the snail, but thinking about it all scientifically and stuff, I'd say the tortoise, because the tortoise should be able to propel himself, because he can touch the floor and stuff, whereas the snail is just on top of the board, and the snail can't touch the floor to push himself along. So yeah, tortoise wins that one, I'd say. Next, we got a few from Calm Biker. Are you really my friend Pete? You sound just the same. If I hadn't already shown my face before, this could have been fun, but no, Calm Biker, I am not your friend Pete, I'm afraid. Or not, as the case may be, I don't know. Number 2, what is your dream bike? I'll answer that one later. Number 3, what was the most important piece of advice you were ever given? I'd say it was probably about handshakes. A handshake can tell you a lot about a person. A good firm handshake is a good sign. That's a good one. Bike related, I'd say treat all other road users as idiots out to get you. Ride invisible. That's a really good one from Mr. B. And also don't eat yellow snow. That's, yeah, best piece of advice. Question 4. Why do you vlog? I don't really know. It's strange really, because in person I'm usually quite reserved, I keep myself to myself, that sort of thing. For some reason I can quite happily speak into a microphone, either whether it's for my radio show or vlogging. I don't really know, it's strange. I'm usually pretty quiet around people I don't know, but I could quite happily, yeah, just natter into a microphone. I don't know. Question 5, if you couldn't ride anymore, what would you do? I'd become a hardened keyboard warrior and slag people off on YouTube all the time. No, I'd still watch motovlogs and probably make videos if I could. I don't really know what I could do if I could ride. I guess if I couldn't ride, it would be because of some kind of disability, I'm guessing. So I'd probably be playing more Grand Theft Auto. And if and when Oculus Rift comes out, I could ride bikes in virtual reality. So yeah, I'd have to settle for that. Next one's from the Spiky Biker. Do you have a name for your bike? Also, how long have you been biking for? I've been riding on a full licence for 6 years now. Maybe it's about time I tried something bigger than a 500. Bike name, now that's a good one, because I do actually have a name for the bike. I've never mentioned it on any videos before. It does share its name with another motovlogger's bike. Now, I'd named my bike way before I'd started watching videos from 2B1 on Roadie. That's right, my bike is called Wyvern, the same as 2B's. Yeah, it wasn't until I was watching 2B's videos and he made a reference to his bike and called it Wyvern. I was like, hang on, that's the name of my bike. That brings us nicely on to the next question from Tom Philby. Is your GPZ a boy or a girl? That, I don't really know. Raven seems more of a masculine name, so I'm going to say boy, but usually most people, the name cars or bikes, it's usually, they refer to them as a she. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to say boy for that one. Maybe the next one will be a girl. We'll see. Booster Black. If you have one tip for new motovloggers, what would it be? I do actually want to do like a tips for new motovloggers kind of video series. One tip for now then would be ride respectfully and don't get out of your way to catch a near miss on camera, because there's too many times where you see something coming and the person riding or with the camera obviously isn't making too much of an effort to avoid it. They're going more for the video footage for YouTube. Yeah, don't do that. We've probably all done it on our early days just to get a few hits and stuff, but yeah, it's no, it's not cool, kids. MatMoto83, would you do a track day on the GPZ? I would if the GPZ was my spare bike in case I crash, because I wouldn't want to go out on a track day, crash the bike, and be stuffed, have no bike to ride out on the road and commuting and stuff. So that's the only way I would do a track day on the GPZ, is if the GPZ was a spare. So I think really in my current situation, no, I wouldn't do a track day on the GPZ. Next question is from Suffolk Andy. Do you like sheep? Sheep are cool. They're like clouds with legs. They also help make nice jumpers, and also in the classic video game Worms 2 Armageddon, the super sheep was my favourite weapon. I've got a couple here from Wyvern Biker. What did you want to do when you left school? After finishing my exams, I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was I didn't want to stay on and do sixth form. So I ended up doing a scheme with the college where you put down 3 job areas that you'd like to try out, basically, and they'll find you a position in that job area for a month. And then, so you'll go do one place for a month, then move on to the next one, and then the third one, and then at the end you sort of decide what you like best and see if they'd offer you a position then. I ended up working in a plumber's merchant on the first one I picked, and I ended up sticking there. I was employed by them, and I also completed an MVQ in retail operations or something. I don't know, it was a long time ago. It's a qualification I forgot I have. I have an MVQ level 2 in retail, and I kind of forget that quite often. So yeah, that's kind of what happened really. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I ended up working at this plumber's merchant, and I was employed by them for 7 years, I think. I was with them for a long time before I moved on. If money was no object, what bike would you buy? I'll answer that one later, of course. Cats or dogs? I like cats. How evil they can be, and how careless they are, and just how much they don't give a crap, really. And they're funny if you're chasing them with a laser pen. There's hours of fun. But at the end of the day, dogs win, hands down. Dogs are the best. Dogs are the dogs. And his last one: who is your hero? Fictional, I'll take Batman, and in the real world, my dad. Here's a good one from Mark Stocks. He says, do you think there should be an official outlet for road users, car and bike, to upload footage of bad driving, allowing insurance companies to review drivers' insurance policies? Maybe there should be, because it will probably make people drive better and have a better attitude towards driving. But I think that site would need to be heavily moderated by sort of traffic experts. Because the content will need to be crystal clear that the offending vehicle is doing something wrong. Because there's some cases, in fact there's a lot on mine where I've seen somebody on a phone coming the opposite way in a car, but the camera doesn't really pick it up because the way they're travelling. You can pause it, you can slow it down and zoom in, and it's just not clear enough. So yeah, it has to be sort of clear evidence really for that to count, if you like. Maybe it's something they could do as a trial, perhaps, just to see what sort of stuff gets uploaded. Right, moving on, I've got a few here from Ryan O'Neill. Number 1, if you could have any classic car, what would it be? The Volvo 480 is classed as a modern classic, so I'll definitely have another one of those, or a DeLorean. I'm not really good with my classic cars, just ask Skiggy Cruiser. I wouldn't mind a 67 Chevy Impala like Sam and Dean off Supernatural. That's a pretty nice looking car. Or Michael Weston's 73 Dodge Charger from Burn Notice, if any of you have ever watched that show. Yeah, that's the sort of thing I kind of go for, the sort of muscly type of things. Number 2, would you ever do a courier job on your bike? I would, if it doesn't involve riding in London or any sort of major city. 'Cause I'd enjoy riding around on my bike delivering things, but in heavy traffic, when you've got time and deadlines to meet, I think it's probably a bit too stressful for me. Number 3, what was the main reason for the choice of town where you live? My other half, basically. We met up in the Midlands, but she was moving back down here. We had a long distance thing going for a little while, but it got to the stage where we were doing alright, but the distance was being a problem. So, long story short, I started looking for jobs down here, and I found one, which is my current job now. So yeah, moved down here just after Christmas 2011. Number 4, what mileage do you commute, and what is the furthest you have ever travelled in one day on your bike? It's 19 miles to work, so 28 miles a day, 140 miles a week. The furthest I've travelled in one day was last weekend, meeting up with a gentleman biker. I've got no idea what the mileage was, but we went out to, well, met him in the New Forest. We did a bit of riding in the New Forest, out to Shaftesbury and then back. So there's got to be at least 200 miles there. Got to be. Bex88, what maintenance do you carry out yourself on the bike? What sort of things would you be uncomfortable attempting yourself? So far I've only done a few little things, like lubricating the clutch and throttle cable. The other week I stripped most of the front end down to wiring the daytime running lights. I did recently adjust my chain tension, which that was a little bit worrying because it involved loosening off the rear axle nut, and you obviously need to get the wheel alignment right, which I managed okay. But yeah, at first I was a bit, should I, shouldn't I? I thought, no, let's give it a go. How hard can it be? It all turned out fine. I do plan to hopefully be able to do most servicing tasks myself eventually once I sort of get the Haynes manual out and applying a bit of practice. Only things I definitely wouldn't be comfortable doing is anything relating to engine and gearbox parts, the clutch, suspension. I think because, well, if I need to like replace the fork seals, I'm not sure how I could do that. I don't know if that's a hard thing or not. It sounds quite difficult. It means it's all springs and coils and stuff. I don't know. And fuel system as well. I don't think I want to touch that. Shade Tree Surgeon, describe your first sexual experience. You can use interpretive dance if you like. How about I'll give you this video reconstruction clip. Next question, Sir Bitchalot. He's got a few. Number one, if cost were no issue, what would be your ideal holiday? Not motorbike related, I would say, well, I've really only ever been abroad to the Greek islands, and that's fine for me. I'll definitely do that again many times. But yeah, I think definitely motorbike related one. It's got to be. Motorbike tour of Australia. I get to meet up with some of the Aussie vloggers. Number two, cost no issue again. What bike would you buy? I'll answer that one in a bit. Number three, Ferrari or Lamborghini? Ferrari. Number four, if you won the lottery, would you retire or keep on working? I think I'll go part-time and just do like a few hours a week or something. Because not working at all, I think, would get boring pretty soon. So yeah, I'd probably have to stay in some kind of part-time work just to eliminate any boredom. And yeah, only doing a few hours a week is good, because then the rest of the time could be spent making videos and editing and stuff. And plenty of other things. Number five, do you pick your nose while driving? Don't we all? Number six, have you ever sneezed into your helmet? Yes, far too often. Especially hay fever season. And actually the weird thing is I don't sneeze as much on the bike as I do in the car at that time of year. It's a bit strange. You'd have thought on a bike you'd be a bit more open to it without not having pollen filters and stuff. Strange. Number seven, have you ever farted in public thinking it would be silent and it turned out to be a rumbler? Yes. Luckily it wasn't quiet, so nobody actually heard it, I don't think. Or if they did, they didn't pay any attention to it. Jill didn't show any signs that they heard it. Okay, before we get on to the last question, I'm going to answer the dream bike question. I don't really know what my dream bike is. There's nothing out there at the minute that kind of makes me go, oh yeah, I'd really love one of them. I think I'd prefer to have like a variety of different bikes. I'd certainly like to have like an adventure type bike, like a GS 1200. Definitely got to have some kind of Harley Davidson, like a Sportster or a Fat Boy or something like that. Cruiser and Supermoto, even though they're quite tall and I'm quite short, that's probably not such a good idea. So yeah, I don't really know how to answer that one really, because I don't know. I don't read enough of the bike reviews and stuff and the bike magazines. Maybe I should start looking at them more, because I'm terrible at identifying bikes as well. Yeah, I rarely know what a bike is when I see it, unless it's kind of obvious where it says ER6 or whatever it is. Obviously I know what one of them is, they're quite distinct. So yeah, I'm sorry if it's a bit of a letdown on that one, because I don't really know. Maybe that one can come back on another Q&A in the future, I think, because maybe I'll have an answer for that then. on to the last question then, and this is the I've saved this till last because this is going to be like the question of the Q&A, the top question, and it comes from Benny Boy Biker. In the event of a zombie apocalypse, what modifications would you make to your bike to help protect yourself from flesh-eating zombies while out vlogging on your bike? Well, if there's a zombie apocalypse, vlogging is probably the last thing I'll be doing. But I would have to have an expanded fuel tank so I could go for long distances without being at risk whilst refueling. Also, I'd have a chainsaw mounted to the handlebars or the front of the bike. Twin miniguns with self-targeting systems either side so it can automatically detect zombies and just shoot them. I'd have holsters for shotgun, so shotgun one-handed like Arnie in Terminator 2. Or some kind of saber or sword of some sort. A lightsaber would be pretty cool, actually. Yeah, or some kind of sword, so yeah, you can do some drive-by decapitations. And a top box full of Twinkies. So there we go, that's the end of the Q&A. I hope that's been all enjoyable for you. It's been fun. I'll definitely do another one at some point, probably next year, sort of early next year maybe, sort of springtime perhaps, we'll see. I know it's been a bit of a long one, but if you made it all the way through, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, ride safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.
Tiny puddle and you're all coming out wide. I'll show you deep. In fact, I'll tell you about deep. I have plenty of experience with deep.